Mural artist, ISO, blank wall. No wall too big or too small. Degree in art. Experienced muralist will turn your dreary wall into a hand-painted masterpiece for the ages. I am quick, talented, versatile, and I do not use AI. All art is 100% human-created, interior or exterior. Please see attached portfolio for a few samples. Low prices, willing to travel all over the Puget Sound. Email Duke for more info. Do not contact me with unsolicited services or offers.
Duke. Hello. I have a loft space in Capitol Hill. I am seeking an artist to make a mural. It is a large brick wall. Do you have a phone number so we can discuss this further? A.E.
Part 1. Bast. Chapter 1. I should have known there was something wrong with the dude. He'd been too eager to get me up into his apartment. He had a way about him, you know. Twitchy, nervous. He didn't look you in the eye. He wore one of those fancy watches, an old-school gold Rolex, I think. Looking back, I think that's why I followed him to his place. He had money, and I did not. We'd met at a Starbucks just outside his building. I'd ordered an Americano, black, extra hot. He dithered, looking over the menu, like this was his first time. He settled on an iced coffee. It was the first week of February, and it had been slush raining for 2 weeks straight. An iced coffee. Should have known right then and there to stay away.
Hey, good to meet you. My name is Anatoly.
You too. I'm Duke.
So, I really dig your stuff. I was particularly interested in the Revenant mural from your ad. You're a good artist. It was really bloody and realistic.
Thanks, I did it for a haunted house thing last year. So, is that what you're looking for? Something undead?
No. Well, not exactly. Are you familiar with Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon?
The VR? I've never played it, but I've seen some of the gameplay. It's survival horror, right? Like, you're a dude running around the feet of giant monsters while they fight other monsters?
Exactly. Anyway, I was hoping to paint a scene from my home base on the wall. I want to make my apartment look a little more like what I have in the game.
Sure. Do you have a screenshot I can look at?
No. A screenshot won't really work. It's kinda hard to explain. It's better if I just show you. I have a rig in my apartment. It's in Bast, my home base. I mean, you'll have to jack in to get a look.
The game will let me log in as your character? Is that because it's single player?
No, unfortunately, you'll have to roll a new player. Don't worry, I'll get you in and get you there to my base so you can eyeball it. We can walk to the portal and teleport right there. The whole thing will take about 10 or 15 minutes the first time, but once you're there, I'll get you a brand, and you'll be able to log in and out at will to get a look.
Okay, I guess.
Also, the game is single player, but there's also a co-op mode. You can have up to 22 players. I run a private server, and there are a few other players who regularly log into it. We each have our own base of operations.
This guy. This fucking guy. Anatoly. The whole time he didn't look up from the table. He put his coffee down and started furiously itching at the back of his left hand like a damn maniac. Run, every instinct told me. This guy's bad news.
Is 15 okay for the mural? I don't know how long this is supposed to take. Why don't you follow me up and we can take a look? It's just right there.
15? $15?
No, 15,000.
You can do that. If you recognize it, you can know the exact instant your life is about to change. We all look back at our memories, pick out individual instances, realize them as turning points, places where our paths diverge, moments where everything changes. But we don't always recognize the moment as it happens in real time. This was an exception. $15,000. Not an earth-shattering amount of money. For this city, it was pocket change to many of the pricks coming and going as we sat there, awkwardly facing each other. But for Mary and me, it would be everything. It was a miracle. A goddamned miracle. I should have seen it. It's obvious when you look at it. That amount was too much. Too convenient. Too close to the exact amount of money we needed. You can do that too. You can look back upon yourself, replay moments in your mind, wonder how you could be such a fool. So naive.
Oh, where's your apartment again?
Wow. Would you look at this place?
So I have the whole top floor. The bottom floor is about to be renovated into some cafe or something. I'm not sure. My father runs all that. We're renovating the other floors too, splitting them into apartments. If you're looking for a place in Cap Hill, we can give you a deal.
I wouldn't be able to afford a closet in this neighborhood. I gotta tell you, man, this is not what I expected. Is that a Manet? Like a real one?
My father is an art collector.
This place is crazy. It's huge. Look at the patina on this brick.
So, that's the wall. I measured it the other day. It's 30 feet long, 10 feet high, all brick, as you can see.
Fuck. This is what you want me to paint? This wall?
Yes.
That is a beautiful wall. I could probably do some awesome work on it. But I gotta tell you, man, I just don't see it. You want a mural on that? Maybe I can do an old-school, industrial-style sign. Make it look faded and antique. Maybe something from the end of the Victorian era to go with your decor. But what you're asking just doesn't make sense. It's brick. Something too photorealistic is going to look odd.
I figured you'd say something like that. Look, I know it seems incompatible with the rest of the apartment, but you really got to see what I want drawn. It'll make sense when you see it.
$15,000. All right, let's see what you're talking about.
Great! I have a pair of VR rigs over here by my bed. Let's get you jacked in.
Chapter 2.
Yes, slide right in like that. It's like a bed.
All I have is the VR helmet at home.
This will be unlike anything you've ever experienced.
No cables?
It's all wireless. Some of the new rigs have the PC built into them, but I find the wireless to my own custom-built farm is a way better connection. I had to pull an emergency eject the other day, and it felt like a regular logout. It's pretty sweet.
Wow. Why do you have 2 rigs?
I actually have 4 of them. The other 2 are in the server room behind this wall. I don't personally game in there because I keep the room cold. I like to tinker with and modify rigs, so I always have backups. Okay, so relax for a minute, and I'll load up the game. The system isn't going to recognize you, and you'll have to roll a new character. It'll take about 10 minutes. Pick whatever you want, except maybe a mole man. They have limited eyesight, and you'll need to see. Also, maybe stay away from a crusher class, or anything that seems like it might be strength-based. They have shitty dexterity for what you'll be doing.
I'm just looking, right?
Yeah, but you might have to crawl around to see it better. Once you enter the game, I'll find you. If we miss each other, just stay put. There probably won't be too many people except NPCs. We're at the end of a season, so don't wander out of town.
What are you going to look like?
My player name is Anatoly, and I'm a human bone saw. You can't miss me. I'll be the only human with a player tag. If you see any other players, don't talk to them.
Okay, but how are we...
Loading. Welcome. Searching. Player unknown. Are you a new character? You may vocalize your response.
Whoa. Yes.
Welcome, new player. You may exit at any time by saying, "Quit game" 2 times in a row, or by logging out in the player menu. Warning. This is a development build of Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon. Some features may not work as expected. Gameplay may vary from the commercial release. Proceed at your own risk. Loading.
Oh. Look at that sky. It's so blue. No seams. Christ. I thought this was an old game. What the... Oh, shit. This is crazy.
We all knew this day would come. For centuries, the Guardians stood watch over the realm, protecting Medina from the gates of hell. For centuries, the demons trapped within their bitter dimension have yearned for escape. And on this day, they have finally broken free. Whoa! The Guardians were placed in this realm as a stopgap, to protect the heavens from the inevitable onslaught. The cities and towns of this world have all been abandoned, left to rot. All the remaining humans fled to the walled stronghold of Medina, where they live in constant fear that this day may come. Look, the demons attack Bast, the great protector of humans. The lion Kaiju has been swarmed and overrun. He is gravely injured. The Kaiju is just ahead. Approach him.
Holy crap. That thing is huge. I gotta get a copy of this game.
The demons have once again been beaten back. Guardian Bast is injured. You are the last remaining. Son or daughter?
What?
You have entered character creation mode. Son or daughter?
Son.
Your name?
We'll go with Duke.
You, Duke, are the last remaining son of an ancient order of healers who have been tasked with the front-line care of the Guardians. While the arcane creatures are immortal, they are not invulnerable. It is the duty of your order to brave the battlefields and administer field medicine to the injured Guardians. Without your ministrations, the beasts will surely succumb to the demons of hell. A millennia ago, entire clans of humans supported a single Guardian. But after the false peace, years, then decades, then centuries passed. The clans faded, and the ancient art of Guardian support was forgotten by all but a few stalwart humans who kept the old traditions alive. The years of dedication to a single Guardian, however, had permanent, lasting effects on the humans who were charged with that particular Guardian's care. As a result, 22 distinct races of people have evolved. You are... Choose your race. Warning, this server is in co-op mode, and only one registered player of each race is allowed per season. There are 22 total races. Please make a selection.
Huh. Cool.
Human, not available. Lichen, not available. Fey, not available. Mender, not available. Brownie, not available.
Shit. What is available? Show me what I can pick.
Dagon, available. Mole Man, available. Groundling, available. Worm Surgeon, available.
Okay. What are these things? Mole Man. He told me not to pick the dwarf guy. This fish guy is weird. Wait, these groundling guys are weird. No necks. How do they turn their heads? It doesn't look comfortable. Hello. What's this? Worm Surgeon. Wow, it's like a zombie. Cool. Alrighty, Worm Surgeon it is. Hope you're not too difficult of a character to use.
You are a worm surgeon. For centuries, your people have been shunned by the others. In only recent years have your kind been allowed back within the walls of Medina. Your ancestors served the outcast guardian, the Shrill, a former demon who turned its back on the princes of hell. Using resurrection magics, your people healed your Kaiju by siphoning away the lifeblood of others. Your expert knowledge of parasites and infestations, plus your ability to survive and see within toxic environments, makes you especially suitable for deep dive medicine. However, while you are physically strong and agile, your lifeblood is constantly ticking away. You must kill to survive, and for that reason, you are not trusted by the others.
Jesus, my health is always dropping away? I should have picked the fish dude.
While your elders taught you some of the healing arts, you spend your days working as a... Pick a class.
What the hell? There's like 40 pages of choices. Good thing I'm not really playing this game. I'd spend all my time reading this stuff. That looks like a good choice.
You spend your days as an artisan, decorating the clay pots your family makes and sells at the market. It was on this day that you were outside of town, delivering your wares, when the attack came. A cart has appeared next to you on the field, and it is filled with your family's wares. And this is your mount. Level 3. Nightcrawler. Mount. This extra-large earthworm is your family's only means of transportation. Without this worm, you can't bring your artwork to the market. His name is Wormy.
Wormy? Really? Ugh, gross. Is this thing made out of snot?
You are alone on the battlefield. Guardian Bast is injured. Approach the beast and administer care.
Administer care? How am I supposed to do that? This thing is the size of a shopping mall.
Approach the injured Kaiju.
Alright, come on, Wormy. Let's get this over with. How you doing up there, buddy? Man, they did a number on you. Look at all those cuts.
Most of the Guardians heal physical wounds rapidly and on their own. As a result, the demons have found alternative methods of battling the Guardians.
What is that?
The demons have infested the interior of the Kaiju. They have become parasites. Be careful. They can rip out of the body and attack you directly.
Holy shit! Wormy, watch! Out.
There are 6 schools of magic in this realm. They are Earth, Technology, Wind, Celestial, Resurrection, and Steam. As a worm surgeon, you draw exclusively from the School of Resurrection. Today, you must administer a simple anti-parasitic. Resurrection spells require souls to power them. The more recently deceased, the more powerful. Luckily for you, You have a nearby source of soul power. The now deceased Wormy.
Aw, poor Wormy.
Hover your hand over the corpse to draw out the soul power. Soul power collected.
Whoa. Well, that feels weird. I get it. I get mana points by collecting it from corpses.
Now, using your soul power, administer the anti-parasitic. You must physically touch the blood supply of Guardian Bast to administer this medicine. Luckily, in this case, the open wound before you gives you access.
Okay.
Available talents. Administer anti-parasitic. Level 1. Cauterize wound. Level 1. You have chosen anti-parasitic. Good job. The medicine takes some time to work, but that should be enough. As the days progress, you will be required to perform more and more complicated healings and surgeries. You will be in constant danger from both the invading demons and their guardians themselves. And sometimes...
Holy shit!
Even the parasites themselves will fight back.
What the hell? Get away from me!
Real pain. Not just the muffled, barely perceptible tingle of a regular VR rig's hit indicator. This was the real deal. I'd never felt anything like it. Not physically, at least. It made me think of that day. Of my wife, Mary, falling to her knees.
This is too much. This is too much.
What the fuck? What the actual fuck?
Welcome, surgeon. Welcome to the wet gates of hell. Loading.
Screw this. Quit game. Quit game. Quit game, quit game. Okay, emergency eject. This is gonna hurt, but not as much as that. How does it go again? Blink, blink, blink. Hold eyes closed for 5 seconds. Blink, blink, blink. Okay, here we go.
Loading. Load complete.
Chapter 3.
Wake up, Duke! Wake up! You were having a nightmare. Were you dreaming about the return of the demons again? That old legend?
What the hell? Quit game, quit game.
What do you mean? You were dreaming again, muttering in your sleep about the demons returning. Ha! As if that would ever happen. Dre says they were all defeated a millennia ago.
Quit game, quit game.
Log off. Currently unavailable.
Are you okay?
Who are you?
Did you hit your head? It's me, Bluff. I'm your cousin.
Bluff. Cousin. Level 4.
You're an NPC, aren't you?
Honestly, Duke, your obsession with the old ways is going to be the death of you. There's no need for battlefield surgeons anymore. The old veterinarians go out there when one of them steps on a thorn or something. Aunt Bernadette's warning that the demons would come back is nothing more than the mutterings of a crazy old woman. She's been filling your brain with nonsense. Let's do our daily health check. First... hey! Who are you? Get out of here!
Anatoly. Player. Level X.
Anatoly, thank God.
Duke! You chose a worm surgeon, I see. That's good, good. We'll need to get you a familiar right away to keep your health from flatlining.
I'm having trouble logging out. The pain threshold in this thing is completely out of whack.
Sorry about that. Hang on. Let me pull up the admin menu. This is a developer build, and the pain threshold is hacked past the limit. Here, I'm lowering it down to 2. My friends like to play with it jacked up. This build is programmed so only the game captain can adjust the pain threshold. I'd had to purchase a developer pass just to do it.
I can't log out either.
Were you using the quit game prompt? That's disabled too. We switched it to I'm a wuss. Sorry about that. I should have told you.
Okay, good. I'm not gonna lie, I panicked there for a minute. I did the rig level ejection routine, but it didn't work either.
Huh. That's weird. That should have worked. Were you in a loading screen at the time? Sometimes it doesn't catch it when the data is transferring like that.
I was.
Well, no worries now. I got you. I'm the king of this domain, so if anything goes wrong, I can get us all out with the snap of a finger.
Cousin, we really need to do our daily routine.
Normally, you'd follow your cousin around for another hour or so, and he teaches you a lot of the basic stuff. He has you go outside the city to gather some berries, and you get attacked by a small demon. It's all part of the tutorial. But that's not going to work because you joined the game already in progress. New players aren't really supposed to join this late in the season. I had to break a bunch of stuff just to make it so guys like you could join. The damned AI is determined to keep me from doing some of it. Anyway, you step outside the city now, you'll get roasted alive in seconds. You're level 1, and those are endgame level demons out there. So, instead, I'm going to take you to the town square, open up a portal, and zap you to my base, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I have to get you a brand first, though, so every time you log back in, you'll end up back at my base, and you won't have to go through all this stuff again. Sorry it's taking so long. I guess I forgot how long that first intro part took.
So I understood about half of what you said, but I'll follow you to your place and take a look.
Good man. Follow me. We'll need to walk a few blocks.
Cousin, come back!
Entering Medina.
Jesus! Is it always raining like this? What are those things in the sky?
Demons! Like I said, we're late in the season. Don't worry, they can't get into the city.
Anatoly, why can't I examine your properties?
It's turned off for co-op. You can't examine other players' skills or level or anything like that. I can't even do it, and I'm the captain. We like it better this way. I'm trying to program out the ability to see our names floating over our heads, too. It's just another item on my list. I'm level 53, by the way. That's pretty high.
So, you're a programmer?
I worked for Bart Hughes Games for years, programming for the Diaz storylines. I don't anymore. My father owns a lot of real estate, and I help him manage it now. Some friends and I are working on the co-op build of this game for fun. The co-op version was never released to the public and is buggy as hell. We've had to implement some major changes to make this work, and we're just getting started. There's still a lot to do.
I noticed the graphics are really good.
Yeah, we're using the new quantum stacks for the server. Expensive, but the processing power is... it's unbelievable. I just pushed a new upgrade a couple days ago, actually. The AIs are getting better and better. It will change everything. And not just with gaming. Years and years ago, most of these games were built in a language called C++. Bart Hughes and his partners developed AIC and eventually AI Squared before the plane crash. This game was originally built in AI Squared and then the updated re-release with AI Squared Plus. It's a blessing and a damned curse for people with a developer license. The problem is the game is built with a learning AI that has a few ironclad rules. That means the game changes itself if you break something. It helps enormously with many tasks. You can be sloppy and it fixes it for you. It's scary as hell, really. But trying to change stuff after the fact without starting over is a pain in the ass. You see that building over there? That spire?
Yeah.
There's a question there that's important to the completion of the game, but only if you're playing a certain race, the Sundered. Those are the robot guys with human faces. The thing is, I don't really care so much about completing the game. We're using this world as more of a sandbox, a playground, so I tried to remove that building. I took it away, and there were suddenly 2 new Kaiju added. I have no idea why. No human came up with them. The AI programmed them in itself, changing the game on its own to make it solvable again. That's one of those iron rules. The game has to be winnable.
I'm an artist. I'm not so much a programmer, so all that stuff is beyond me. But I do know how fast AI is growing. I just read an AI-written novel, and it wasn't half bad. It wasn't half good either.
AI is going to change the world. Anyway, I ended up stepping back that change. This whole game is a study in the butterfly effect. One of the biggest complaints about the single-player version was that there were too many cutscenes. If you fall in a hole you can't get out of, if you're captured by cannibals, if you get thrown in a jail cell, if you're tortured to death, etc., the game would speed up time and you'd watch it all happen in third person. It took almost 2 years, but I finally got rid of the game's tendency to reward failures with a scene. It had all sorts of implications. One of the results was the game getting more dangerous, not less so. I don't even know why, but I made it work. It also fixed some weird continuity issues with the co-op version of the game. Now, the passage of time makes sense. Just don't get arrested by the Medina guards while you're here.
Why not?
So, in single-player version, if you get arrested and thrown in jail, you usually have to pay a fine or serve a couple days behind bars. But you don't really serve that long. You watch a quick scene and you're out. And time has passed, just like any other game. In the co-op version, before I fixed it, the game did the same thing, which had a tendency to put things out of whack. If we both planted an apple tree side by side, for example, the tree takes 5 in-game days to bloom. You can plant the tree, get arrested a minute later, get sentenced for 5 days, and come out and harvest your apples right away. Your tree will be fully grown when you get out, because as far as you and your property are concerned, 5 days have passed. But for me, it's only been 10 minutes. My tree will still be a shrub, even though the 2 trees are side by side. I fixed the issue, but when I did, it made it so players arrested for 5 days are now actually trapped in that jail cell for 5 days. You serve your sentence in real time. There's nothing anybody can do. It sucks. It's no fun. So if you get sentenced to 5 days in jail, you pretty much just gotta log out and come back 5 days later. Otherwise, your character is just sitting in a cell. I'm chipping away at the problem. Good news is I managed to make it so only the town guards in Medina and this one other place called Little Cibola can arrest you. So if you do ever make it to any of the small villages, the guards there won't be able to throw you in jail. They'll just kill you. But I did have to disable the ability for players in captivity to escape. There's a whole system in place with lockpicking and killing guards and all that. But for right now, it's offline while I fix something completely unrelated. Also, something else broke, making the fines just outrageous. Now the fines are something like 10 times the previous amounts. I put the wrong decimal somewhere, so the moral is don't get arrested. Once you're in there, you can't get out.
Don't get arrested. Got it.
So anyway, right now I'm mostly focused on making it so all of us can be human players if we want. None of this only one of each race bullshit. It's the damnedest thing. You'd think it'd be an easy change, but the moment I implement it... Oh, here we are.
Entering Pets Plus.
So, I don't know what you read or were told during character creation, but you picked a race called a Worm Surgeon. Not too many people play that race because resurrection magic requires souls to power. It's easy early on in the game, but later, when you're doing deep dive surgery, there are a lot fewer things to kill. Most of the demons you face later on are big and don't go down easily. So instead of having to fight 50 level 1 demons, you fight 1 level 50 demon. Level 50 gives a lot of soul power, but it's like getting a big paycheck once a year instead of smaller ones every week. You gotta learn to conserve it. Your life force is constantly going down, and you have to use your soul power to heal yourself. So it's a losing game. However, there is a trick. You can get yourself a certain type of familiar. It will give you enough soul power to keep yourself alive. It won't give you much more than that, though. Normally, you wouldn't be able to afford or capture one of these for a while, but I'll get you one now. No, not this thing. But you can examine it if you want.
What is this? It's like a miniature pig mixed with a snake.
Snaggle snort. Race restriction. You cannot bond with this pet. 50,000 teeth.
Teeth? Teeth is money. You won't have to worry about that.
Is it like actual teeth?
Yep.
That's a little fucked up. Whoa, look at those guys. These guys are cool looking. My daughter used to have a pair of rats.
Vile rats. 15,000 teeth. Excellent thieves and scavengers, vile rats work in concert to attack and perform tasks. If one is killed, it will not regenerate until all three are dead. Health, 500 each. Nil magic. Deep dive, yes. Shared experience, no. Skills, poison enemy, parasite hunt, plague, vaccine administration. During combat and surgery, vile rats will retrieve and return any loot from fallen enemies.
Come on, Duke. This way. So, you're basically undead. You're like a lich mixed with a vampire. Your race is kept alive through resurrection magic. As a result, your flesh imparts no nutrition to those who require flesh to survive. Here we are.
That's it. It's a little white maggot.
Don't let this guy's size fool you. He'll get bigger if you let him. A lot bigger. This here is a gut hook. He's a nematode class pet, which means he lives inside of you. And his respawn location is your intestinal tract. So, if he ever dies, and he's going to die a lot, he pops back into existence inside of you. So, here's the brilliant part. This guy needs to feed off his host to survive. But he can't feed off of you. So a couple times a day, he starves to death and dies. When he dies, you automatically gain the soul power he gives off on death. Rinse and repeat.
Gut hook. Juvenile. 754,000 teeth. Health, 45. Magic, yes, with certain upgrades. Deep dive, yes. Shared experience, yes. Familiar to player only. Skills, sap energy, strengthen.
Why is it so expensive? Other than the soul-giving properties, it seems pretty lame.
The soul-giving part is a big deal to worm surgeons. But if you do let your worm feed and level up, he gets bigger and receives many more skills. When he's a full-grown adult, he can evolve into one of the most powerful familiars in the game. Plus, he has shared experience, which means when he gets experience, you get some too. Only a few familiars have that. Most don't. Anyway, let's get the show on the road. I'm gonna pay for this, and then you gotta swallow it.
Swallow it? Ew.
There are other ways to have it inserted, but they're not nearly as pleasant.
Chapter 4.
That's right. Swallow it down. Don't chew. Oh God. Oh God. Good man. I knew you could do it.
You've obtained a familiar. A new menu is available. Familiars. You've obtained a male gut hook. Level 1. Juvenile stage. What is your familiar's name?
Let's, name you after an artist. How about Banksy?
Banksy. Level 1 gut hook is now your familiar.
Are we good?
I think so. Do I need to do anything?
Nope. You'll automatically get the soul power. Do you know how to heal yourself? It's in your spell menu.
I didn't see that spell before. It was only anti-parasitic and cauterize or something like that.
No, that's your surgery menu. Those are called talents. You'll only see that when you select a wound or scan a kaiju or enter an infected chamber in a deep dive situation. This is the magic menu. It's different. You should have a few spells.
Oh. No, I don't know where that is.
It's in the main folder, but you can set a gesture macro that will pop it out. The default one is this.
Let me try it. Oh, hey. It worked.
The healing spell for worm surgeons is called Reconstitute, I believe.
You have 2 spells. Reconstitute. Upcycle.
Cool. So what else can I do with this gut hook thing?
Not much. Normally, they get bigger and stronger the more they feed on you. Eventually, they can fight for you and get pretty big. Like I said, they're one of the most powerful familiars in the game. But they're weak early on, and yours will never get any bigger because it won't have any flesh to feed on. They don't leave your body until level 5 or so, and you have nothing to make it level up inside of you. So, it's useless except to keep you alive.
It feels like popcorn going off in my stomach.
Okay, let's go back out there. That's the center of town. You can teleport in and out from there. Normally, if you die or log back in, that's where you'd regenerate unless you've branded yourself to another place.
Branded?
Look, here's mine. I hold the branding iron of Bast. Once I brand you with it, you'll respawn and log in and out at my home base, which is in Bast. Here we are.
Entering branding shop.
Hello. Welcome. How may I hurt you today?
Well done. Flesh modder. Level 30.
Here's my brand. Brand him with it.
It'll be your first brand, so it's free. Where do you want it? My arm. Here.
No, he wants it on his neck.
My neck?
Your neck is the best place to put brands like these to make sure they're permanent. If you lose a limb, you usually get it back, but not always. If you lose it, you lose the brand. A brand on your neck overrides the default regeneration spot, which is that gazebo over there.
Is this going to hurt?
We're currently at level 2 sensation, but you will take some damage. Not much, but some.
Yes. I need confirmation from both of you before I do this.
I agree.
Warning. Receiving a brand upon your neck will overwrite your inherent regeneration spot. Your current regeneration spot, Medina Town Square, will be lost. This cannot be undone. You will need to obtain a Medina brand if you wish to regain the default regeneration spot.
Should I get a Medina brand too? I have one right here. Second one ain't free though.
It's not necessary. It'll only complicate things. Trust me.
Brand away. This is my favorite part.
Brand received. You have been granted access to Bast. Player base. Your available regeneration spots are Bast. Player base.
Alright, let's get you to my base.
Wait a second. So Bast is that lion monster with the tentacles?
That's right.
Entering transport gazebo.
And your base?
Is in the bowels of Bast.
Preparing to transfer.
Inside the monster? I should probably warn you about the smell.
Wait, what does that mean?
Transferring now.
Chapter 5.
Entering Bast. Player base. Restricted area. Access granted by brand. Guardian health unknown. Scan recommended. This base is owned by player Anatoly. This home base is your current regeneration spot.
For a confused moment, I thought I was back in Anatoly's apartment. I looked around, bewildered, seeing the familiar couch, familiar bed, kitchen area, and the long brick wall. But this was all overlaid with my game HUD and the ceiling of the warm and humid room. The milky white ceiling appeared to be made of flesh. As I watched in astonishment, the The flesh quivered and then undulated, as if something just beyond the surface moved by, something substantial, malevolent, and so very close. The ground did not feel steady, as if I was on a ship. A wave of queasiness rushed through me. I am inside the monster. That giant, weird lion thing. I am inside that creature.
Jesus! Yeah, I'm working on removing the smell from the bases. Some of the others don't like the stench either. Personally, I think it adds an extra touch of realism. You stop noticing it after a while. It won't bother you after a day or two. I'm going to barf, man. It wouldn't be the first. Just ride through it. I thought the lowered sensation setting would block out the smell, too.
Warning. You are unsteady.
I set sensation back to 100%. It's 105%, actually. I found it enhances the experience. Everything's a little more saturated, if you know what I mean. Okay. Okay. I'm good. I can't believe it. I can't believe I got you in here so easily.
What do you mean? Wait. Why did you set the sensation back up?
Okay, Duke. Let me tell you what's really going on here.
What do you mean?
You'll want to sit down for this. Most of what I've told you so far is true, but I left a few details out. First and foremost, I didn't hire you to draw a mural on my wall.
I don't understand. Why do you need me here?
It's kind of complicated. I have a client, and they requested an artist. They chose you.
For what? What do I need to paint? I don't understand.
You're going to have to ask them. Honestly, I try not to get too involved in what the clients want. That's between them and the proctors. I'm just the host.
I'm a wuss. I'm a wuss.
You won't be able to eject. You're in a penal rig. You've already been attached to a feeding tube and waste disposal system.
What do you mean? Why would you do this?
I am in the very early stages of creating a digital playground. Instead of building it from the ground up, I am taking an existing engine and game that I can easily adjust to test out interest. Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon works well because the anatomical and pain settings are second to none. Better than any other existing game.
You can't keep me here. I have a wife. My daughter is flying in tomorrow. I'll be missed.
Oh, I am aware. You will be missed, but nobody will know where you are. You were alone when I answered your ad. You sent no messages to either your wife or your roommates. You didn't leave a note either. You checked.
You've been following me?
For some time now, Duke.
Okay. This is what's going to happen. You're going to let me out right fucking now. If you do it now, I won't kick your ass, and I won't sue you for every damn penny you have. This is kidnapping.
No, Duke. I'm not going to let you out. You're going to do what the client says. If you do it well, we'll keep you around. If you don't cooperate, well, you won't like what happens next.
Fuck you! I'm not going to do anything you ask. You're going to what? Make me live in the body of this stupid zombie thing? For how long?
I want to show you something. You'll have view-only web access during your stay, as long as you behave. There are a few channels of interest I want to show you. Namely, channels 1 and 2.
What? What is this? It was like being physically slapped. I felt the breath knock out of me. He'd somehow hacked into the feed from my wife's work implant. He had audio and visual access for her corneal graft. I could literally see through her eyes.
Of the two, your wife Mary's implant was the easiest to hack. The interface from St. Joe's uses a pretty insecure protocol. Most of the doctors have an extra layer of security, but the lower-tier nurses have the cheap stuff installed. As long as your wife isn't wandering around someplace off the grid, we can track and see her position.
What the fuck, man?
And then we have channel number 2. Your daughter sleeps most of the day, since she got out. What was her name again? Oh yes, Ruth. It's a sign of depression. Sleeping, I mean. Her implants were taken offline 6 months ago when she was released from prison. Getting them powered back up without her knowledge was a bit of a chore, let me tell you, but we got it done. She's doing well, by the way. The doctor at the halfway house thinks she has a good chance of staying clean this time. The visual quality of her implants is crap, but she has the bloodstream monitors. You'll know straight away if she falls off the wagon.
Why are you doing this?
We have done this for 2 reasons. One is to give you a view of the outside world, so you know your wife and daughter are all right. You have access to television also, though you'll be rationed to 1 hour a day. The second is to prove to you that we can get to either of them at a moment's notice. If you do as we ask, we guarantee they will be left alone. If you excel at what you do, we will further make certain that they will both share in some of the profits of our venture. We'll not only pay off your back mortgage, we will buy the loan on that shitty apartment of yours outright and tear it right up. If you defy us or refuse to participate, you will be forced to watch as first Mary and then Ruth are captured, then tortured, and then eventually converted into a consumable for our project. We have invested a significant amount of capital into getting you here, Duke. We plan on protecting that investment. Please don't force us to resort to extreme measures.
But why me? I'm a nobody. I'm not even a good artist. I'm a goddamned hack.
It doesn't matter. You're handpicked by the client.
Jesus Christ. This had to be a nightmare. I stepped forward, and I punched Anatoly in the face with all of my strength. It felt as if I'd just struck a brick. My vision flashed red. I'm pretty sure I'd broken my hand. His hand shot out, crushing my ribs as I was bodily picked up and pressed against the back wall. I could feel the ribs in my undead body creak and crack. An ominous red flashing filled my vision as my health bar nosedived. In my stomach, I felt Banksy the gut hook thrash. I couldn't breathe. My chest caved in. Pain spiraled across my rib cage, like cracking glass.
Don't ever think to touch me again. I do not like being touched.
You have died. Half your experience toward level 2 lost.
I fell. Down I went, falling and falling as I flailed my arms. I still couldn't breathe. My chest felt broken open, and air rushed through it as if Anatoly had punched a hole clean through my frail body. Spinning red lights filled my vision, and it soon became clear I fell within a tight, bottomless tunnel. The red lights were fires. First torches, and then the walls themselves were fire, rushing by as I plummeted. I smashed to a stop, my body slamming into the sudden ground like a meteor crashing from the heavens. I tumbled and crunched, my neck and legs and arms all shattering with the impact, my insides liquefying within me. I could see, I could feel, and the pain did not falter. I'd been taken far beyond the normal realm of pain, past the point where a person in the real world would have lost consciousness or fallen into shock. I lay ruined on top of a pile of writhing, screaming, burning bodies. I opened my mouth to scream, but my jaw did not do as I commanded. The fire consumed me. This is what hell is. I blinked. The pain was gone. Just like that. It remained, though, burned into my memory. Pain does that to a person. It tattoos itself into your memory. Deep, bright, and burning. So much so that the remembrance of it is just as bad.
You have died once. Entering past player base. Restricted area. Access granted by brand. Guardian health. Unknown. Scan recommended. This base is owned by player Anatoly. This home base is your current regeneration spot.
I looked, stupidly, at the naked corpse with the ruined chest lying on the ground nearby.
Corpse. Duke. Body will disappear after 2 minutes unless it is interacted with by another player or NPC, or upon the generation of another corpse.
You were probably too in shock to fully appreciate how exquisite that death sequence is. You fell down the burning hole for 20 seconds before you regenerated. The default is 10 seconds. I just adjusted it up to 2 minutes. Every time you displease me, I will add 10 seconds to the sequence.
Fuck you. You have died 2 times.
I didn't say anything after waking up the second time. All I could think about was Mary, screaming.
This is too much. This is too much.
Words can brand themselves onto you too.
Are you ready to listen now?
You can't do this.
We've already established not only can I do this, but I already have. You need to get past the anger and denial stage. Don't bother with the bargaining stage either. I don't remember what the other stages are, but I'm pretty sure the last one is acceptance. The sooner you move on to that one, the sooner we can get you comfortable.
What's going to happen next?
This is a more acceptable question.
Food box activated. Your apple is ready.
Worm surgeons are one of the few races who don't sleep in this game. That's unfortunate for you. Time will move much more slowly. But you also don't need to eat, which is good. I won't have to keep you stocked up. I already have a food box for me and another for Clara. I won't need to invest in one for you. You just need the soul power you can get from your gut hook.
Who's Clara?
You'll meet her soon enough. She's out on a field trip right now. When they return in a couple days, you'll get to work. I gotta fly to Boston in the morning, so I'll leave you to your own devices. You probably won't see too much of me over the next couple of weeks. They'll tell you what to do next. It's in your best interest to do as they say. The client has free rein to control your behavior.
A few days. What about me? I'll starve to death.
I already told you, worm surgeons don't need to eat. Oh, you mean you. The meat world you. You're in the modified Honda Labs penal rig, fully stocked. You don't need to worry about that. It has 6 months worth of sustenance and has some great new technology built in that'll keep your muscles from atrophying. The first few test subjects had this issue where their meat bodies would go into shock after just a bit of extreme fun. Don't worry though. These new rigs have squashed that bug pretty good. Here. I've given you read-only access to the state of your rig, so you'll know how Duke Prime is doing. You'll also have access to some web channels, so you can keep tabs on the outside world. And, of course, you have the Mary channel and the Ruth channel. But like I said, you only get an hour a day.
I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to rip you to shreds.
You're now at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. You're free to wander around, but if you step outside of my base, you'll be devoured alive in minutes. You're level 1 in an endgame zone. You don't get experience for anything but killing things and performing surgery, and that's not going to happen. So you're going to remain level 1 for the remainder of your stay. I'll be back in a week, maybe 2, to check on you.
Anatoly, offline. Fuck. Chapter 6. The first thing I did was figure out how to work the view screen. I spent the next hour not moving, just flipping back and forth between my wife and daughter. Ruth remained asleep, so I focused on my wife. Mary was now home, sitting on the couch in the living room, playing a game on her phone while 2 of our roommates argued in the background over whose turn it was to change the cat litter. I watched as she sent me a text asking where I was. She wouldn't think it was anything out of the ordinary. Not yet. The screen flipped off on its own. A 24-hour countdown appeared in the channel-changing menu on my display. Shit. I'd used up my daily 1-hour allotment already. I screamed into the empty room. I pounded on the wall. I'd only been here an hour, and I already felt my sanity start to slip. I spent the next hour exploring every corner and area of the base. Bast, the giant monster I now lived inside of, seemed to be doing nothing but wandering around, occasionally roaring, which shook the whole apartment. I'd become mostly used to the uncertain movements, though my stomach still lurched from time to time. The hideous smell remained, but like Anatoly said I would, I'd already gotten used to it. The paintings, including the Manet, remained on the walls. Upon closer examination, the Manet had an oddly pixelated look to it, but I suspected it was more of a result of the mapping software that had copied Anatoly's apartment. The flesh ceiling rippled with movement, a constant reminder I was in this terrible place. It appeared train-sized serpents scuttled about outside. Parasites. I wondered what would happen if I attempted to administer my anti-parasitic talent. Something bad, probably. The kitchen did not hold any large appliances, unlike the real-world version. Where the refrigerator and oven stood in the real world were just more cabinets. The sink remained, and I tested it. It worked, though it appeared it only gave cold water. The cupboards were all empty save for 2 rectangular boxes nestled inside of the larger cabinets where the fridge once stood. I slid open the door on the first.
This is a level 5 food box. It is attuned to player Anatoly. The box is not locked, but the food is not compatible with worm surgeons. Do you wish to extract food anyway?
Huh. An orange.
Warning, you cannot eat this.
Let's look at this box.
This is a level 2 Fey food box. It is attuned to player Clara. The box is not locked, but the food is not compatible with worm surgeons. Do you wish to extract food anyway?
What the hell? Is this a Rice Krispie treat? Sure smells like one. One little bite.
Warning, you've been poisoned. Damage taken. Damage taken. Damage taken. Damage taken.
Healing spell. Where is it?
Upcycle. You have not selected a valid upgrade. Spell did not cast.
Fuck! Wrong spell!
You have died. Half your experience toward level 2 lost. 0 points lost.
Two minutes and 20 seconds of hellfire might as well have been 2 hours. I awakened in the middle of the room, sobbing. Holy shit. It felt as if bugs crawled all over me. Burning, biting, unbearable. I stayed like that for some time, not moving, not knowing what to do. I needed to avoid dying. I wouldn't be able to endure that again. I had to get out of here. My nerves continued to scream with phantom pain.
Are you my daddy?
Hello? Who's there?
When you die, I also die. If I'm inside of you, it hurts to die. Also, I'm hungry, Daddy. I'm eating, but I'm not getting full.
Banksy? Are you talking inside my head?
Is that my name? Banksy. I like it. I need food, Daddy. I am eating you, but it's not working. What do I do?
I'm a worm surgeon. You can't feed off of me.
How will I live then? I need to eat.
I don't know. But don't call me that.
You are my daddy, Daddy. What else can I call you?
I don't know. Call me Duke.
I'm not going to do that. You're my daddy.
Banksy has low health.
Oh, I'm so hungry. Daddy, I don't want to die again. It hurts. It hurts so much. I'm scared.
You and me both, kid. A few minutes later, I hauled myself to my feet and spent some more time exploring. There were 3 doors in the room. One was the main door to the outside. Anatoly had warned I'd die immediately if I went out there. The next was what I presumed to be the bathroom. When I opened it, it turned out to be a closet filled with clothes, armor, and weapons. When I tried to touch one suit of blue, shimmering armor, my hands moved through it like it wasn't there. I received a message.
You may not loot owned items in this base.
I spent some time examining the weapons. This was an odd game with a strange array of weapons. There were 2 standard, one-handed longswords that one would find in any type of sword and sorcery game. One of the swords glowed blue, indicating, I assumed, it was enchanted. A crossbow that appeared to be made of bones hung from a hook on the wall. A spear leaned up against it. But there were also more modern weapons. A Winchester-like rifle sat next to what resembled an unloaded RPG, and piled up next to those were 7 or 8 retro-futuristic hand blasters. These were silver and red pistol-like weapons that appeared they'd be at home in any space shooter game. Multiple other odds and ends filled the cluttered closet. Quivers, ammo packets, soda can-like devices that looked like they might be grenades, and so forth. The system wouldn't even tell me what they were. I couldn't pick up or wield any of them. The weapons made me think of my inventory, and I wondered how it worked. All games like this dealt with inventory in different ways. In some games, your personal inventory was limited to what you could actually carry. It was realistic, but also a pain. In others, there was an inventory menu and you had to pull it up, and the item magically appeared in your hand. A third option was the bigger on the inside storage pack. This game utilized a hybrid of the second and third options. I had a small pack looped over my shoulder, no bigger than a fanny pack. I hadn't even noticed it until I thought about it and reached over. I had to stick my hand in the pack, and a list popped up. I could select one of the items, and it would appear in my hand. I tried it out with a couple oranges and apples. It also listed my current teeth count, which was a big fat 0. I wasn't sure what the true capacity of the pack was, but it appeared to be based on total mass, not the number of items. I closed the door and moved to the third room. This was a large, sliding door next to the bed. In the real world, Anatoly had indicated he had a server room hidden somewhere past his bedroom, though I hadn't seen a door. I grasped the door and tried to slide it open.
You do not have access to this area.
I sighed. I'd explored the entire apartment, base, whatever this was, and there wasn't much here. I couldn't even move the furniture around. I could only pick up and use smaller objects like the pillows and the sheets on the bed. If I placed my hand on the very top of any item, from the couch to a glass sitting on the counter by the sink, I could pop up a menu similar to the one on the food boxes, but I couldn't interact with the menu at all. All that left me with was the door to outside. The edges and cracks of the large wooden door were stained red with blood. I placed my hand against the wood. It was warm, and it pulsated with a slow, rhythmic boom. Bast's heartbeat. Outside. Well, not outside. The ground lurched, reminding me where I really was. I pictured the beast. A 6-legged lion with tentacles erupting from its back. Anatoly had said we were in the bowels. So if I left, would I be able to get myself outside? And if I got outside, would I somehow be able to get back to town? Probably not. But what if I could get to town? It was relatively safe there. Maybe in town I'd be able to level up a few times, get more strength and endurance. If I could level up, get some gear, maybe figure out a way to get myself to a place where I could power my way to a level that was suitable for this area. Then what? I could surpass Anatoly in power here in the game, but what difference did it make? He had me trapped in a damn prison pod. He had access to Mary and Ruth.
Daddy, it hurts.
Banksy has died. Soul power gained. Banksy, level 1 gut hook, has regenerated.
Oh, Daddy, what happened? I think I died, but it didn't hurt as much as when you die. I'm not hungry anymore.
You did die. I'm sorry, I don't know how to feed you.
What are we going to do?
Can you leave my body? Like, is there a way for you to, crawl out of me so I can feed you?
I can come out of you. I am very small, and I can't leave until I'm level 5. You have to kill something for me and feed it to me.
Where do you come out? Wait, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Can you eat human food? Or fey food?
I can only eat flesh. Flesh killed by either you or me.
So, no fruit or vegetables? If I give you an orange from the food box, would that at least keep you alive?
No, Daddy. I only eat what I kill, what you kill, or you. It has to be flesh. I can sometimes eat other stuff, but it has to be meat. I won't grow if you or I didn't kill it. Daddy, I lied when I said I was full. I can feel myself getting hungry again.
Shit. Maybe if I leveled up a few times, I'd find a better way or get a new skill. I placed my hand on the door to the outside. I pulled it open. Chapter 7. The door opened slowly, hesitantly. Despite its solid appearance, it had a flimsy, non-rigid quality to it, like I was peeling wet cardboard off a wall. A shower of slime and gore dripped from the jamb as the door slurped open. A blast of heat crashed into me. I stared into dripping, humid darkness. A high-ribbed ceiling throbbed, barely lit by the room behind me. Flowing, splashing rapids of sewage rushed past about 4 feet below. The river rushed up at me suddenly, as if the room was falling. I clutched onto the entranceway as the world lurched, moving separately from the exit, causing the dark liquid to splash through the entry and onto my feet. I realized Anatoly's apartment was on some sort of gyro, so that it stayed relatively level as the beast moved around. It was like looking through the door of a washing machine. Even though Anatoly's base lurched and lunged like the deck of a ship, the interior of the beast was much more chaotic. What I took as the creature simply walking around now appeared as if it was running or fighting something, only stopping to roar. Shit. How could I move through this? I'd be pulverized in seconds if I went out there. Plus, I needed light. I looked back dubiously at the fireplace. I might be able to fashion some sort of torch, but it would probably get wet with the gore and monster shit flowing through the bowels. And what could I use as the torch itself? A creature the size of a city bus scuttled down the river, rushing past. I stood there at the exit, open-mouthed. The millipede-like creature boasted legs around its entire circumference, like a barrel cactus, and it made a hissing noise. I stared after it, my heart pounding. It just kept coming and coming. It disappeared into the darkness. A message popped up as I stared.
Activate frame vision.
The world transformed from darkness to a green-tinted monochrome. I could now see in both directions along the curving bowels. Similar to night vision, but I could also see through the rushing liquid below, like everything was reduced to a wire diagram. Small, crab-like creatures scuttled about in the sewage. I could see the skeletal outlines of the crabs. A new message popped up, asking me if I wanted to use auto-frame vision, so that it would turn on automatically when I was in low light. I clicked yes. I spent a few moments searching the menus for a description of the X-ray skill, and I found it in a menu under Race Traits and Skills. It had a few things listed there I wasn't aware of.
Race Traits and Skills. Soul Siphon. Life Tap. Frame Vision. Famine. Breathless. Additional skills may be unlocked at higher levels.
This was yet another menu different from spells. Soul Siphon was my ability to recharge my soul points from the recently deceased, and Life Tap was the debuff that made my life gradually tick away. Famine was also a debuff, which I'd already learned about the hard way. Any food I ate immediately turned to poison. Breathless seemed to imply that I could breathe underwater and that I was immune to toxic gas and certain types of suffocation. The description for frame vision was interesting.
The interstices of life become visible to you, allowing vision where there is no light. Only active during deep dive surgery and exploration.
I assumed deep dive meant being inside of the kaiju. This was an extremely useful skill, though I still wasn't sure it was a suitable trade-off for my life constantly ticking away. The world outside the door continued to twist and slosh, though it seemed the kaiju, Bast, was settling down. I wondered if it had a regular sleep schedule. If so, I'd have to time my explorations around that. I eyed the mini-crab things again, crawling about in the river. I wondered if I would get experience if I killed them. Each was about the size of my fist, and there were hundreds of them. They seemed to cling directly to the flesh of the bowel, undisturbed by Bast's movements. Upon closer examination, the crabs appeared to be small bird skulls with crab legs and pincers. I didn't have a weapon. If I jumped down there, I'd only be able to pull myself back up if Bast wasn't bouncing around too much. Still, I needed to figure out if this was a doable plan. I held my breath, and I jumped into the brown river.
Entering Bast. Lower intestine.
I splashed down, knee-deep in the fetid water. It had the consistency of a thick, warm stew, and multiple chunks flowed past, banging into my legs, threatening to toss me face first into the muck. Above, the doorway bobbed up and down like a beacon, a yawning mouth of safety. From this angle, I could see the apartment was a large, round polyp on the side of the intestine, taking up barely a third of the circumference of the tunnel. At my feet, the crabs seemed to sense my presence and scattered away. Their outlines walked sideways, like normal crabs. In the distance, something roared. Multiple waypoints popped up in my vision. Each waypoint was a purple, blinking cross. Most of the crosses appeared to be moving. I focused on one of them, and more information popped up.
Level 10 parasite infestation. 112 meters away. Sartorius muscle. Warning. Your anti-parasitic talent is not adequate for this level of infestation. Warning. Guardian Bast is in dire health.
I dismissed the warnings for now. I found Windows VR actions worked in the game. If I flicked to the top right of my vision and did the proper head tilt, I could cycle through multiple views. I fiddled with the settings, so now the waypoints would only appear if the targets were less than 100 meters away. If I managed to level up enough, maybe I could try some low-level healing, but I wasn't ready for that. For now, all the moving purple waypoints were a distraction. Okay, you little fuckers. I eyed a single critter, smaller than the others, scuttling along sluggishly. I stomped. The ground had a spongy, uneven feeling to it, like I was stepping on an old mattress, but I still felt a satisfying crunch. I felt the now familiar whoosh as I siphoned away a small amount of soul power.
Experience earned.
Yes! I glanced at my experience and figured it'd take 3 more dead crabs to level up. I turned, searching for more beasties to smash. Ah, shit. The wave of crabs, hundreds of them, reached my ankles, biting and stabbing and slicing as they swept over me, pulling me down into the muck. I was down before I could taste the river of Kaiju shit fill my lungs.
You have died 4 times.
This is too much! This is too much!
Chapter 8.
Please! Stop now! Please!
I died 3 more times over the next 2 days. You would think I'd get used to it, that the constant deaths would build up a tolerance to the pain. The opposite was true. The 2 minutes and 20 seconds of hellfire after each death was a longer and longer ordeal each time. It made me make mistakes. Each time I died, I lost half of my experience to the next level. I managed to kill 2 crabs this last time before they overwhelmed me, leaving me at a point where I just needed to kill 2 more to get to level 2. Bast's movements were irregular, however, and sometimes I'd open the door to find the outside. Inside. World in turmoil. One time the Kaiju rolled over and the entire world outside the room spun, leaving the door facing the wall of the intestine for a few moments. Still, I suspected Bast did have a regular schedule. What seemed irregular and random was a cycle that would repeat. I observed, noting his movements using the virtual scratch pad in my memory. Eventually I found it. He'd move around for 2 hours, culminating in some sort of tussle where he completely rolled over a few times. Then he'd sleep for 2 hours, leaving the world outside the base relatively calm. It was during this time that I was able to go outside. The giant, train-like parasites that moved about Bast were not on any sort of regular schedule that I could see. Fortunately, I had my surgery warning set, so a waypoint popped up when a major infestation appeared within 100 meters of me. As a result, I had a few seconds of warning before one rushed by. The second time I had died out here, I'd been too slow to scramble back into the base as one came rocketing down the intestine. It had paused before me, its massive, round mouth sucking me in like a piece of spaghetti. When I'd regenerated 2.5 minutes later, it remained right outside the door, still crunching on my dead body. The crabs were like any other neutral mob in a game. They left me alone unless I attacked or hurt one, and then they swarmed over me in seconds. They were probably nothing more than a minor nuisance to high-level players. I needed to come up with an alternative plan. I needed a weapon, preferably a gun. Sniping them from the doorway would probably work if I found something that penetrated liquid. But none of the weapons in Anatoly's closet were lootable, so that plan was useless. My next best option would be to try to explore Bast, maybe find something else I could kill. Or better yet, find a way out of the monster altogether and somehow make my way back to Medina. I was sure if I could get back there, I'd be able to level much more easily. Banksy died just about every 2 to 4 hours. It wasn't consistent. He'd die, and I'd use the soul power to cast Reconstitute on myself. The worm didn't talk so much anymore, though he did sometimes make a comment as he died.
Oh, I'm so hungry, Daddy. It hurts so much.
I didn't have a clock, but I did have the 24-hour countdown in the channel menu for the TV display. Ruth's screen was just static with an out-of-range notification that second day. I knew she was supposed to be on an airplane right around then, so I assumed that was the issue. Mary's feed was pure heartbreak. Anatoly had sent her a text, pretending it was me. Fucking hell. I wasn't sure exactly what it had said, but it was something along the lines of, "I know you've been cheating on me, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back, don't try to find me, fuck you." I watched as she dialed my phone over and over, each time getting a message saying the mailbox was full. She would alternate this with call after call to my address book as I listened and watched. She was at the point where she was calling people I went to high school with, those I hadn't talked to in decades. I felt goddamned helpless at her panic. I listened to her talk to her mother. She'd called the police earlier, but they wouldn't do anything. Not yet.
His fucking daughter is supposed to move in with us today, and I just can't take it. I don't know what to do.
She'd logged into my phone account and used the tracking option, but it had been turned off the day before I even visited Anatoly. He'd gotten into my account, erasing all evidence we ever talked. After he sent that last text, he'd nuked the phone. "I'm going to kill you. I am going to tear you to shreds." The next day was worse. Each day I watched for an hour and then had to wait 24 hours before I could watch again, meaning each day I started watching an hour later than the day before. It was early evening on this third day when I was finally able to log back into the video system. I sat on the floor constructing the cage as I watched my daughter, Ruth, rush from the house, screaming, dragging her duffel bag.
Fuck you! You can just go fuck yourself!
I'd missed whatever set her off. She'd been fighting with Mary. Those two had never gotten along. I'd been worried about how they'd react to each other when I was home and a buffer between the two. With me gone, with their stress levels maxed out, a blowout was inevitable. Ruth wasn't Mary's daughter. Mary hadn't wanted her to move in at all. She'd only agreed because I'd begged, promising it'd be temporary until Ruth found a job.
I don't think I can even look at her, Duke. She killed my son. She killed our son.
"That's not fair," I'd replied. I watched Mary throw herself onto her bed, crying. Ruth stormed out onto the street, swearing under her breath. Later, I watched, helpless, as she approached a group of men at a bus stop. "Don't do it. Don't do it."
Hey, any of you guys got...
Your feed is finished for the day.
God damn it!
I tried not to think of it as I went back to work on my trap. I tried, but I couldn't concentrate. Falling into the fire was no worse than this. Still, I had work to do. I couldn't use anything in the base for supplies, so I'd climbed out and waded through the river, picking out random bits of bone and long, stringy ropes that I believed to be dead parasites. The earthworm-like husks were fat and stretchy, more like gummy worms than real ones. I had to be careful not to even brush up against the crabs or they'd swarm. I'd throw the bits up through the open door and pull myself back in when the intestines swayed low enough for me to grab at the entranceway. My hands shook as I finished the cage, wrapping the sinewy worms around the bone. I was obsessed with that 24-hour countdown, but maybe it would be better if I didn't watch it all. There was nothing I could do, and watching the pain of my wife and child was just making it worse. Much worse. I'd found that the crabs loved the food from the food boxes. I tossed a pair down into the muck, and they'd eaten it in seconds. With that knowledge, I'd built 3 crab traps. The first was much too weak, and even though I'd managed to entrap 2 of the bird skull monsters, they'd ripped their way out in seconds. The second trap was built twice as strong, and they still managed to claw their way out. This was my 3rd attempt, and if they could break out of this one before I hauled it up, this whole venture was useless. Anything sturdier would be too heavy. This time, the human food box provided a bunch of grapes. I tossed a few of them into the bone trap and dropped the whole thing over the edge of the doorway and into the river of effluent, all connected to a rope of tied-together tapeworm corpses. The crabs swarmed the trap. I pulled, dragging the makeshift line back up. Crabs cascaded off the box, but as I managed to wrangle it back through the doorway, I had 5 of the little fuckers trapped within, all desperately attempting to get out. I hauled the box into the room and popped the top off. I smashed the crabs one by one with my boot as they swarmed out of the cage.
Level up. You are now level 2. Upgrades available.
Yes. I repeated the process multiple times. By the time I was level 5, the crabs had stopped giving any noticeable experience at all. They still gave a good jolt of soul power, though. They also became wary of the trap. In theory, Anatoly couldn't see my level. I had to use that to my advantage. I needed to hide the trap, but I didn't want to just toss it. I jumped back down into the river, giving the crabs a wide berth. Luckily, their aggro wasn't activated. The underside of the base was pocked and pitted, like the slimy walls of a tidal cave. I found a good nook and shoved the cage in as far as it could go. Something screamed in the distance, sounding surprisingly human, making me work faster. I didn't know if it would stay when Bast was in one of his more active moods, but it was the best I could do. Shivering and dripping with monster shit, I scrambled back into the apartment. I needed to pick my upgrades. Chapter 9. Upon level up, I could finally access the Upgrades tab. I spent some time poring over the menu. I had multiple options, and I needed to make an informed decision. Each time I leveled up, I received a single point I could add to my base stats, and I received 3 skill tree points I could add to my spells or skills. I had 4 base points and 12 skill tree points to spend. The base points were straightforward. I had 5 different base stats: strength, acumen, durability, deafness, and charm. As a worm surgeon, I started off with a base of 12 for acumen, 10 for strength and deafness, an 8 for durability, and a 5 for charm. As an artist, I received a 3-point boost to charm and a 1-point boost to deafness. Apparently, there were some other benefits as well, but they were skill-based, and I currently didn't have any of the appropriate skills.
Current stats. Strength, 10. Acumen, 12. Durability, 8. Deafness, 11. Charm, 8.
My initial instinct was to pile the points into durability, which had a direct effect on my ability to consume damage before I died. The more durable I was, the better my chances of making it out of Bast. On the other hand, if I raised my acumen, I could store more soul points. As long as I was quick with my healing, point for point, it was probably a more efficient use of my stats. Charm was useless for now. Deafness, this game's version of agility, was a bit of a wild card. If I ever managed to get a gun or a ranged weapon, this was probably an important stat. Plus, my ability to sneak around unseen required a high deftness. Something else was nagging at me. Anatoly had really wanted me to stay away from strength-based skills and players. Strength only really mattered once I started dealing in melee combat. But why didn't he want me to have it? In other well-established games, it was easy to make decisions because I could read up extensively on what skill did what. Here, it was all guesswork. Once you spent a point, you couldn't take it back. I decided to look through the spells and skills before I made a decision. I started with spells. The descriptions in this menu were more extensive than in the main spell menu, which I thought was odd. This whole game had the feeling of someone who cared more about the aesthetics of the world than the under-the-hood stuff required to make a good game great. It still felt beta, unfinished and unrefined, like the actual game stuff was a burden on the system. While I thought the streamlined HUD was great, I didn't like the inefficiency of the way the menus stacked. I also noticed that spell cost was always a percentage, not numbers. If I adjusted my acumen up, those percentages went down as my total soul points went up. But if I leveled up a spell, the percentages would go up. It was kind of an odd way to do it. It made it so you didn't have to think so hard when you were casting spells off the cuff, but it also was confusing to me in terms of power and levels. I preferred hard numbers. I currently had 2 spells, Reconstitute, which was my heal spell, and Upcycle. The Upcycle spell had been unclear to me. I read the description 3 times before I realized what it was saying.
Allows for the caster to swap out body parts, which may have an effect on certain stats, skills, and magic abilities. Warning: a durability of 15, the Scalpel spell, and the Wicked Meat skill are recommended before attempting an upcycle. Successful upcycles are permanent changes to your body and will persist even upon death. Spell unlocks at level 40.
If the spell unlocked at level 40, why did I have it now? Weird. Did that mean I wouldn't be able to use it? It seemed like I could. I'd tried it before and it had triggered, but it gave me a warning that I didn't have all the necessary materials. More importantly, it seemed like the spell allowed me to physically upgrade myself. But how did I get the replacement parts? I couldn't choose the Wicked Meat skill, whatever that did, but I did have the ability to pick Scalpel. It cost 5 skill points.
Scalpel transforms dominant hand into an adjustable, physical cutting or fighting tool. Total damage is based on acumen, spell level, and strength. Costs 7.3% of soul points per minute Scalpel is active. Spell upgrades increase sharpness, damage, and blade durability. Warning: breaking of the Scalpel results in amputation. Not to be confused with the Incision surgical talent, which is a guided cutting process.
An offensive spell. I had multiple other spells I could choose, and I read through them all. I didn't have any ranged attack spells. Not yet. Each time I leveled up, a few additional spells appeared, but the names of the level 6 and above couldn't be drilled down to the descriptions. I saw once I hit level 10, the floodgates would be opened, giving me access to 100 different spells. Most of the ones now seemed to be movement and survival based. There were a few tracking spells and a fast travel spell. There was a spell to start a fire. There were also a few defensive spells. One that hardened the skin, one that apparently made you so ugly, human-based opponents were scared of you. There was a spell that removed the skin off a defeated creature, which was gross but not so uncommon. This game seemed to have a small crafting element. At first, I was interested in the fast travel spell, but it looked like it could only take me back to my respawn. So it was useless. The real movement spell was teleport, and I couldn't get that until I was level 12. I definitely wanted the Scalpel spell, but I moved over to the skills menu. The main difference between skills and spells was that skills were either passive, meaning they were always active, or they didn't require any soul points to utilize. Like with the spells, the skills were mostly survival, hunting, and movement-based. It seemed worm surgeons had several tracking-themed quests early in the game. One skill in particular, however, caught my eye.
Gross anatomy. Adds the minimap and full-screen map to your menu during deep dive surgery in Guardians other than the Shrill. Higher levels increase map detail.
A map would be extremely useful. It cost 5 skill points. Another skill caught my eye. It had unlocked at level 5 and also cost 5 skill points.
Grappling hook. Especially useful in deep dive situations. Transforms non-dominant hand into a retractable grappling hook. Higher levels increase distance and the ability to grasp with more efficiency. This is a bionic upgrade. Bionic upgrades require a visit to a Chicken and Waffles and Upgrades location.
I wanted that grappling hook, but it looked like I wouldn't be able to get it while I was stuck in here. I'd learned long ago that sometimes it was best not to blow your skill points as soon as you got them, but I decided to spend 10 of my 12 right now. I gave myself the Scalpel spell and the Gross Anatomy skill. The moment I chose the Mapping skill, a 3D cube-shaped map appeared in my upper right vision. If I focused on it, I could either increase its size or twist it around. I spun the map around a few times, zooming in and out. It was low in detail, showing tunnels and passageways. It labeled some, but not all, of the body parts. It also showed the location of the giant train parasites and other internal issues with Bast, which I would need to know if I wanted to heal the Kaiju. Also, if I zoomed all the way out, I could see the current shape of the monster and what it was doing. Bast was curled up like a cat, sleeping. Its tentacles waved above its bulk, each reaching dozens of meters into the air. Before I moved back to the base stats menu, I took a quick peek at my surgery menu. This was the third menu of skills, spells, whatever they were, though it appeared you gained these abilities whether you wanted them or not. There seemed to be a leveling system for them also, but it was separate from the regular leveling. My anti-parasitic and cauterize talents had leveled on their own even though I hadn't used them. Before, I only had 2 surgical talents, anti-parasitic and cauterize. Now, I had 2 more.
Anti-parasitic, level 2. Cauterize, level 2. Incision, level 1. Lance, level 1.
I would explore those later. I was pretty sure I could only use them on designated parts of the Kaiju. I went back to base stats. Unlike skill points, it was usually wise to use your stat points as soon as possible, as long as you had a solid long-term upgrade plan. There was no point in hoarding them, and I needed to decide what to do. I wanted access to that upcycle spell, which meant I needed to up my durability, but I also had this gut feeling about strength, that it would be useful. It went against my usually well-thought-out upgrade plans, but this early on in a game, a few points thrown in the wrong direction usually weren't that big of a deal. I didn't think I was wrong, though. Tank build it is. I added 3 points to durability and 1 to strength. I didn't feel any stronger after, but my life bar grew. So at the end of my upgrades, I looked like this.
Strength, 11. Acumen, 12. Durability, 11. Deftness, 11. Charm, 8.
The first thing I did was cast Scalpel. My right hand transformed itself into a short, gleaming blade. If I focused on the blade, I could make it thinner and longer. It felt fragile in this configuration, though, and I remembered the warning about my hand amputating if it broke. I moved it back to the short, solid, and sharp configuration, like a hand-sized X-Acto knife. The sensation was odd, like I suddenly lost all feeling in my palm and fingers. It would be awkward fighting with this thing, but it was better than using my feet to smash down on the crabs. I switched it off before I lost any more soul points. I needed to get back out there. I planned to explore further out now that I had a map and a better weapon. As I prepared to leave, I was interrupted by the loud crack of someone teleporting into the center of the room. With a puff of smoke, 3 figures entered the base. Chapter 10. 2 players and the largest snake I had ever seen appeared before me. The 2 humanoids stared back at me as if they were just as surprised as I was. A man and a woman. Both were players. Real, actual people. The man was huge, and the woman was diminutive. The massive hulking man was one of the ogres, a nerve agent, they were called. He stood almost 7 feet tall, reminiscent of the half-ogre characters from Dominion of Blades, though these guys had a blue tinge to their skin and saggy, mottled jowls. His arms were each as thick as the legs of an elephant. He wore extensive, complicated leather armor that was all buckles and studs, a maze of belts and straps and the occasional tassel. My first thought was, over-enthusiastic BDSM gear.
Smash South. Player. Level X.
The ogre had a yellow boa constrictor coiled near his legs. The snake hissed and uncurled from the nerve agent, slithering toward the fireplace. The thing was huge, about 12 feet long, as wide around as a manhole cover.
Familiar. Player. Smash South.
The woman was a fae. Her skin was ivory white, and she stood just about 5 feet tall, her body unnaturally thin. She wore simple black pants, a gray, short-sleeved shirt, and heavy, military-style boots. Her jet-black hair cascaded down her back. She had straight bangs that ended just above her eyes, and elf ears that poked out on either side of her head. She looked like a Vulcan from Star Trek going through a vampire goth stage.
Clara. Player. Level X.
Ah, yes. The artist. When was the last time you saw Anatoly? Please, you have to help me. Shut the fuck up and answer my question.
This guy wasn't going to help me. This was the client. Which is it? You want me to answer the question, or do you want me to shut the fuck up?
This one has got some sass.
I'm going to put the television on. See if they're talking about it yet.
It's locked out for the day.
Yeah, we'll see about that. He gave us administrator abilities, but I am locked out of almost everything. Still, I think yes, I'm gonna have to reset it. Here it is.
Yeah, baby. I got what you need if you got what I need. I heard you'd been locked up. You still a party girl? You know I am.
Signal lost.
God damn it. Fuck. She'd been working so hard. She'd gone through withdrawal in prison and went straight to the halfway house. It had been 1.5 years since she'd used. I'd been hopeful. So damn hopeful. What a waste. When I got out of here, I wasn't going to go to the police. I was going to hunt these fuckers down, every last one of them. I'd been so focused on my daughter that I wasn't paying attention to what was playing on the vid. Both Clara and Smash South watched, riveted. I turned my attention to the screen. The screen showed a small, brick house covered in snow. Men in FBI jackets and about 100 cops milled about. Flashing lights and yellow police tape set the scene. The caption on the news screen read, "Fitchburg, Massachusetts, House of Horrors. Police arrested 2 men in conjunction with the murders. A spokesperson for the FBI stated the arrests were part of a much larger investigation and that multiple arrests around the United States have been made, with more imminent. It is unclear how these arrests are connected with last night's arrests in Fitchburg. However, the police have been able to confirm that one of the 2 men arrested is indeed the prime suspect for the spate of killings that terrorized central Massachusetts for the past several years. The killer, dubbed Frankenstein's Monster, is reportedly responsible for the kidnapping and dismemberment of at least 24 teenaged boys. The killings had stopped for over 1 year until last week when police discovered the body of a 15-year-old Sean Walford, who disappeared from home earlier this year. Walford's body had been dismembered and then sewn back together using parts from at least 3 different people. Police are still seeking information on the identity of the other victims.
It's 5, dumbasses. It's always 5 different people. All boys except the heart. That dude has some serious mommy issues.
Smash South paced back and forth, chewing on his fingernail. He had a sleek, black assault rifle slung over his shoulder. It glowed in intervals with blue light. It was the same type of rifle Anatoly carried,
Ah, that dumbass. Anatoly, Frank, Sal, and Princess. All locked up because he couldn't keep it in game. Fuck!
Wait. Anatoly has been arrested?
Don't look so excited. Nobody knows where the servers are located. Even if the cops manage to log in, which I doubt, they ain't finding his lair. That means you're just gonna rot. Both of you are gonna rot.
It looks like Anatoly topped up my rig when he snagged Mr. Crypt Keeper here. I have a good 6 months of sustenance keeping my pretty little body alive. How about you? You probably got 6 months left too. Am I right? I know you have access. He always gives them access. Go into your menu and look at rig status. It should tell you the condition of your real body. Tell me what your sustenance number is.
Rig. Active. No issues. Waste disposal. Active. No issues. Sustenance. Active. 179. Cap. 100%. Battery life 99.5% of peak efficiency. Con. SCL connected. Subject. BPM 67. BP 125 out of 82.
It says 179.
That means you have 179 feedings left. You get fed once a day.
We are so fucked. Damn you, Frank. Fuck.
You know, for a sociopath, you sure are high-strung.
I'm not a sociopath.
Smash South flips channels, stopping on British Sky News. They are also talking about the arrests.
Fucking Frank.
You know, it's kind of ironic. They call him Frankenstein's monster. Usually they call that green monster dude Frankenstein, when the real Frankenstein is the doctor guy who created the monster. You're supposed to call that monster Frankenstein's monster, but they never do. They always just call it Frankenstein. But now they're calling Frank Frankenstein's monster. But he's really the one putting the bodies together. So he's really the doctor in this scenario. He should just be called Frankenstein, you know what I mean? So they got it backward. Again. The news media is so fucked up.
He called himself that. He did in his first note. I knew this story. My mind was finally starting to catch up to everything that was going on around me. The serial killer from Massachusetts had been arrested. I remembered them finding the body of that missing kid. All the parts had been cut out and then sewn back together. Frankenstein's monster was one of Anatoly's clients, I realized with horror. These two knew exactly who the serial killer was. Anatoly had also been arrested, along with a few other people.
No shit! He called himself that? Well, I didn't know that. What a fucking idiot.
I need to get out of here. Jesus, they could be closing in right now. They're probably trying to log in right now.
Quit being such a fucking pussy. Christ, you're whining worse than that poet woman Anatoly brought us.
Us? There's gotta be a way to erase... There is no us.
Clara leaped over the kitchen counter, cat-like, moving faster than I thought possible. She came toe-to-toe with the ogre man named Smash South.
You will not leave me here. If you leave me, I'll tell them who you really are.
You don't know anything about me.
I know you're from Omaha, Nebraska. I know you're rich. I know you're married to a real estate broker. I know you have a daughter. I know you have a Pomeranian named Missy P. Panties. I know you have a fetish for cutting holes in women, and then with your itty bitty...
With a shrug, Smash South pulled the pulse rifle up over his shoulder, brought it to bear, and blasted Clara point blank in the face. The Fae flew backward, her head just gone, her body spiraling blood like a goddamned pinwheel. Her tiny body crunched against the kitchen counter she'd just leaped over, crumpling to the floor. All of her clothes were gone. All that remained was a naked, anatomically correct corpse. I blinked at that, surprised, shocked at the sudden nudity. My own corpse was always naked, but I hadn't thought about it until now. In most games, your body was stripped of all its gear and clothes, but a simple underwear-clad version remained. I doubted the original version of the game was like this. It had to be something Anatoly added. The smell of fire and smoke filled the room. The snake looked up from the fire, then slithered toward the body. I remained there, unmoving, unsure of what to do. The nerve agent and I both stood still for several moments.
That's the first time I've ever actually fired this gun. I hate video games.
It was such an odd thing to say. I didn't have a response. The snake opened its mouth wide, taking Clara's corpse into its mouth, head first. The countdown timer above her head flickered away the moment the snake touched her body.
I've only accidentally killed her a few times.
He dropped his gun. It clattered to the ground.
That's why I was here. Anatoly promised me it was the most accurate simulation in the world. I could refine my skills on real people. Real, actual people. I know how close to the edge I can take them. But I get too excited sometimes. I could practice here, take them to that edge. The twilight area. The beautiful place. Anatoly said he could use me. I'd be a proctor. I don't want them to die. I want that look in their eyes. Anatoly promised we'd all be human in the next version. That's why I never quit. In the real world, I'm not this big. And they're usually not that small. But I think I got a taste for it now. For the smaller ones. That's Anatoly's fault. He said we'd all be humans in the next version. I was fine with the regular ladies. I don't even want to play the game. After a while, I just wanted her. She's been here longer than me. She likes it. It's like a dream come true. I want them to like it. She wanted you here. She said she was a fan of your art.
She'll be back in a minute. I don't know if this is her regen spot.
It is. It's not mine, but it's hers. She's the one with the brand. I didn't even want to play this stupid game. I couldn't even get up to the level 7 Anatoly wanted us to. I can't even leave my home base.
I didn't think about what I did next. His words entered my mind, and I reacted on an instinctual level. I cast Scalpel and I leaped at the ogre-like creature. I formed the blade into a long, thin, puncturing weapon. I punched right at his exposed neck, and I felt the satisfying give as the knife pierced flesh. I pulled my hand back and punched again and again. The nerve agent's eyes went wide with surprise and pain. He dropped like a sack of rocks.
Level up. You are now level 6. Upgrades available.
I barely had time to register what I'd done. Chaos erupted the moment he hit the floor. The snake, in the middle of swallowing the body of Clara, began to buck wildly, throwing itself up and down, trying to bring itself to bear on me. It wanted to attack, but it couldn't, not with its mouth full of the dead Fae. At the same time, Clara reappeared in the middle of the room. She arched her back, eyes rolling in an expression that I would assume to be pleasure if I didn't know what she'd just gone through. A moment passed, and then she unleashed an ear-shattering scream that never seemed to end. The snake had what appeared to be a 140-second countdown timer over its head. I didn't know what that was about, but I hoped it meant it would disappear. I didn't wait. I leaped forward, slashing at the snake with my right hand. The blade bounced right off the tough scales, and the large snake hissed in outrage. Oh, fuck. It swung its head at me, the legs of Clara's corpse still dangling from its mouth. I jumped back as it charged. It lifted its head up and down, like it was trying to swallow as rapidly as possible. Clara pulled herself to her feet, brushing herself off. She looked down at the corpse of Smash South, eyes wide.
Did you do that?
Oh shit! He was less than level 7! I didn't think about it. I just struck!
Well, now you're beat. He might not be high level, but Ginger is. She's gonna fuck you up.
I didn't think his pet would be harder to kill than him!
Smash South might not have played the game or trained himself up, but he let Ginger roam about Warble freely. Look how damn big she is, you moron! How do you think we teleported around? She's a dimensional boa! She's at least level 30!
What does the counter over the snake's head mean?
How the hell should I
I leaped over Smash South's corpse, and as I landed, my left hand hit solid metal. With surprise, I realized this was the ogre's pulse rifle. I had erroneously assumed it was an owned item, something I wouldn't be able to pick up. I deactivated my scalpel spell and snatched it up, pulling it to my chest. A few notifications scrolled by, but I didn't have time to read them. A new gauge appeared in my interface underneath health and soul points, indicating energy level. It was all the way to the top. The large, sleek rifle vibrated in my hands. My finger found the trigger as I turned to face the giant constrictor barreling toward me. I screamed as I pulled the trigger. The weapon thwumped in my hands as a blue bolt crashed into the snake's head, and promptly bounced right off. Clara yelped as the energy pulse ripped over her head. It smashed into the wall, blowing the Manet into pieces. Huh, I thought idly, as the snake clamped onto my chest. You can destroy things in the apartment if you have a powerful enough weapon. Chapter 11. The snake, thankfully, was gone when I regenerated. So was Smash South's corpse. Clara remained in the room. She had righted one of the chairs by the fireplace and sat upon it, cross-legged. She looked up at the vidscreen, which had been changed from a news station to what appeared to be a Korean soap opera. I still had the rifle. I felt it slung over my shoulder, and the energy bar remained in the upper corner of my view. I took a deep breath, trying not to scream.
Oh, this is too much. This is too much.
I examined the rifle's properties.
The Epiviper, limited edition, number 4 of 7. The finest pulse rifle manufactured by Epsilon Holdings. This small batch of limited edition rifles was commissioned by player Anatoly. Highly upgradable and endlessly versatile, the Epiviper is the most powerful, most efficient pulse rifle available to non-technology-based players. Damage is based on player level and an attribute of the original owner's choice. Original owner, player Smash South. Chosen attribute, strength.
No wonder I hadn't managed to scratch Smash South's pet snake. This seemed like a great gun, but it was only as good as your current level and strength. Still, it was rare to find a weapon that would grow with you. It appeared these guns were something that Anatoly had made for his friends in the game. I remembered Smash South had dropped it to the ground after he shot Clara. The act of letting go of the weapon outside of your own base must have made it fair game for everybody else. Clara munched on a popsicle from her food box. She was still watching that Korean soap opera.
So, apparently that countdown timer meant Ginger was about to disappear. She probably went back to Smash South's base inside a Warble. You should have just kept running. How did you manage to kill Smash South anyway? I've tried stabbing him a couple times, and it didn't work.
Who are you? Anatoly said you were like me, but I don't think that's true.
I am what is called a consumable. Like a toner cartridge for a printer. But I'm still ticking away. You didn't answer my question.
I stabbed him in the neck using a spell. I didn't think it would work either.
You must have looked out and criticaled him. You probably gained a couple levels too. Did you get to level 3?
I only went up 1 level.
Probably won't do you any good. This season has been dragging on for 1.5 years, and I haven't managed to go up a single level. Anyway, Smash South is probably not coming back anytime soon. Anatoly had told him to teleport here to pick you up, but he can't get in the base without my brand. He probably bugged out during that extended death sequence anyway. So now, we're stuck here. Assuming Anatoly doesn't get out of prison in the next 6 months, or one of those other crazy assholes doesn't come in here looking for us, which they won't, we're probably dead. Like, really dead. At least we got cable. By the way, I'm not going to fuck you. Ever. Maybe if you had picked a less disgusting race. But this? Nope. Not gonna happen, so don't even ask. Now let me watch this.
I was in his apartment. It looked just like this. Surely it's not going to remain empty for the next 6 months. Someone has got to go in there and find us.
Maybe, but I doubt it. That dude has like 20 identities. I'm pretty sure the version you met is not even close to the real deal. Smash South once said he thinks the real version is Dutch.
This is crazy.
Daddy's boy in Seattle, right? He has the top floor, and they're renovating the bottom into a coffee bar. That's where Clara Prime got snagged also. Yeah, he told me the same thing when he captured me all those months ago. Anyway, the building is likely owned by a shell company of a shell company of a shell company. All the day-to-day operations, including paying the power bill, are controlled by AI. Believe me, I've had plenty of time to think about this stuff. If the FBI ever tracks all that down, it's gonna be months. Maybe years. Besides, your body and my body are not in that apartment. Not anymore. A while back, I woke up in my rig suddenly. We weren't in that apartment. It was a warehouse with high ceilings. I asked him about it, and he told me we get moved to another facility the moment we're captured. The way he explained it, it sounded like it was far away. Maybe even another country. I don't know. He wouldn't say.
But what about the others? Surely someone will talk. Tell them about the game, about us trapped here. Clara threw her hands up in disgust. On the television screen, a Korean woman was sneaking into a bedroom while 2 people slept. She put her hand on the man's mouth, waking him up.
You're one of those optimistic types, aren't you? It's gonna be a long 6 months if you're gonna spend the whole time being hopeful and whatnot. If they find out about the game, and if they somehow manage to get an agent in here, then what? Think about it. We are literally shoved up the ass of a giant lion. Nobody can even see we're online. We're not getting out of this base. And even if we could, nobody is coming. Let's say they find us and we tell them who we are. This isn't the old days where they could figure out where the server is hosted. Sure, you can tell them the address of Anatoly's apartment, but if they can't find the server, they can't shut the game down. And if they can't find the rigs we're in, nobody is coming to rescue us.
Jesus. So in 179 days, our rigs are going to run out of food for us?
Shush! I'm watching my show. I haven't been able to watch in a week. Gee, you! You are such a slut!
Are you kidding me? I pulled up the television menu. The countdown timer had been suspended. I snapped the screen off. Clara whirled on me, her face a mask of sudden rage.
Yes! All right! We both have 179 days before we stop getting food. I don't know how long before we actually starve to death, but it's probably a bit after that. And there is not a goddamn thing either of us can do about it. At least we're in here, in Anatoly's base, which has a television and a food box and furniture, unlike any of the others I've seen. Also, there won't be anyone else here to torture us every day. And when we do starve to death, we won't even feel it. We'll just be gone, and you know what? I'm marking that as a win.
There's gotta be a way out of here.
Jesus, you're insufferable!
The television flipped back on, and she turned back to the screen. The scene had changed. The woman who'd been kissing the man in the bed was now kissing a different man. Clara gasped. Wait. That time you'd woken up, you said you were in a warehouse? Do you know why you left the game?
It was the end of the last season. They'd used up all the available characters, and the only way to reset it all was to finish the game and restart. He and the Canadian and Frank, they had this big battle with their kaiju. And the game ended, and a bunch of credits showed up on the screen, and I woke up in my rig. He was right there, though, and I got thrown back into the game. I refused to re-roll my character for a long time, but he did something, so I just popped back in as a Fae again. Almost everyone was the same, though Smash South went from one of those fish guys to the nerve agent, and the Canadian went from one of those gremlins to one of those wolf people. All the other clients who were staying on remained the same. Now be quiet.
So if we beat the game, we get out? Is that right?
Yeah. But Anatoly said in co-op mode that it's almost impossible with 3 players. That means it is impossible with 2. And by yourself, well, you wouldn't even be able to get into the rift with just 1 player. Anatoly had leveled himself up to the high 50s. So had Frank and the Canadian. All 3 of them were really into the game. guys like Smash South, Princess, and that Mexican dude weren't into it at all. They just wanted to do their thing.
Beat the game, I repeated, not listening to her anymore. I thought of Ruth, of Mary. I had 6 months. I was going to die. A lot. There was no way around that. I could do this. In my stomach, Banksy rumbled.
Daddy, I can help you, but I gotta eat first.
Don't worry. I have an idea to get you food. I pulled the gun off my shoulder, and I blew Clara's head clean off. Chapter 12. I threw my attribute point into durability as I butchered Clara's body. I had to stop and breathe in and out to keep my gorge down. This was the most disgusting thing I had ever done. I only got a tiny amount of experience from killing her, which indicated she was indeed only level 1 like she claimed. The countdown timer over her corpse disappeared the moment I took my hand scalpel to her flesh. I was going to need that extra durability point. I wouldn't be able to eat her flesh. This game probably had some sort of antidote potion that cured poison, but I didn't have access to it. I might be able to cure myself over and over until the poisoning ran out, but I didn't know if poison did run out. Some games it did, some didn't. If it didn't run out, then I needed to avoid feeding Banksy via my own mouth. Something odd happened as I cut Clara's left arm off her body. A menu popped up over the severed arm.
Upcycle compatible left arm. +3 charm. -2 strength. -3 deafness. Plus charm parasite.
It took several moments for me to realize what that meant. I could switch my left arm with her left arm. None of the other parts seemed to be compatible. I didn't know if it was a random drop or what, but either way it was a terrible trade-off. Also, her arm was less than half the size of my current arm. Clara zapped back into the room, screaming. She pulled herself into a ball on the floor and started whimpering. I'd moved her corpse to the kitchen counter, and I looked up from my work. So, when you were dead, when Smash South had killed you, he said you picked me, not him. You were a fan of my art.
You could have fucking asked me! Christ, dude! He thought it would be funny to make me choose. He threw a bunch of photos in front of me and told me to pick my favorite. I picked one. It turned out to be yours.
Was it the mural on the side of the haunted house? The one with the revenant? The zombie guy?
No. It was the tire tracks going across the heart made out of glass.
It felt as if I'd been punched. She couldn't possibly know what that mural meant. Not to me. I'm sorry. I couldn't decide if I really was sorry or not. I needed her meat. I could only feed Banksy with food I'd killed myself. I didn't know how much food it took to get him up to level 5, but I would keep doing it until he could go out on his own. Her eyes widened as she finally noticed I was butchering her own corpse.
What the fuck? What is wrong with you?
I need to level my worm up. He levels from eating, not killing, but it has to be food I've killed myself. Smash South disappeared before I could get some meat off him.
For fuck's sake! Asshole! I should have known he'd given you a worm. Well, guess what, moron? You're not going to be able to feed it. Your kind can't eat. You'll die of poisoning before the food even hits the stomach.
I know. Stay close. I'm going to need your help with this next part. I waited until Banksy died one more time. Thankfully, the meat didn't suffer any sort of rot or degradation. Clara sat, curled up in a huff, grumbling to herself. Her Korean soap opera ended and another one started, and she watched it with impassive eyes. Eventually, she turned away, but left it on. I didn't want her to see, but I couldn't stand it anymore. I pulled up the interface and changed the channel, moving to my wife's channel to see what Mary was up to.
Signal lost.
I switched to my daughter's channel.
Signal lost.
A simultaneous joy and a wave of utter loss crashed onto me. Smash South had done it. He'd broken the connection when he'd fiddled with it. I was free. I was horrified that I felt that way. But I was. My wife and my daughter were both my hope and my crutch. I desperately wanted to check in on them, but this bizarre feeling of happiness settled. It was almost as if they were trapped in here with me, but now they had been broken out. Or maybe you're just a coward, and it's easier to deal with this without having to think about your responsibilities.
2 channels? Let me guess. Your perfect wife and your perfect kid. They usually only spring for 1. You should be glad it's all gone to shit. Usually they bring them in here too. Especially if you misbehave.
What? What do you know about all this? She refused to talk more about it. Banksy eventually groaned and died, and I re-upped my soul points with his death. I used a few of them to top up my health. Banksy regenerated, whimpering in my mind. Okay, it's time. I sat in the recliner by the fireplace. I'd laid out long strips of the meat on the arm of the chair. Clara sighed and got up from the couch, coming to kneel before me.
This isn't going to work.
Maybe not. I pulled my ragged shirt off. If it doesn't, then I'll just have to poison myself and try to sustain my health long enough for him to eat.
Hand scalpel summoned.
Banksy, you remember the plan?
Yes, Daddy. I'm scared.
Don't worry. Just stay as far back as you can until I tell you.
You are crazy.
With my left hand, I grasped a handful of my gray, mottled skin around my stomach. I plunged my scalpel into the flesh. I sliced long and hurriedly across my own midriff. Pain, ripping, tearing, overwhelming pain. I screamed, fighting the urge to double over. My life force plummeted as I arched my back instead. I felt my insides open, yawning like a mouth. I cast Reconstitute, offering only a few points into the healing. Too much, and my stomach would close on its own. It did not ease the lightning agony.
Do it! Banksy! Come get it!
Oh my god.
Clara panted as she grasped a handful of her own corpse meat and shoved it into my open belly. I screamed with a new wave of pain.
Oh, you got too low. It's really far. Maybe you can do it again, but higher this time?
I don't think anything is happening.
Oh, get the fuck down there!
I healed myself again. I was fighting a losing battle as my health bobbed down. In just a few more seconds, I wouldn't be able to heal the wound enough to keep it from killing me.
Oh, okay, Daddy. I'm scared to go in the tube, though. Hang on.
A terrible 5 seconds passed. Clara clenched her eyes closed, wrist deep in my stomach. Then, her eyes snapped open.
I can feel it. I can feel it. Eating.
Oh, this lady is delicious, Daddy. Oh, this is fairy meat. I get a bonus. Oh, I feel like I'm getting stronger.
Banksy, gut hook is now level 2. Your familiar is full.
Oh, I can't eat anymore, Daddy. Not for at least an hour.
Okay, pull out. Pull out!
Clara looked up at me, suddenly grinning. The look startled me, even through the pain. It was like a switch had been flipped, and she was a different person.
Turnabout is fair play. If you get to level up, so do I.
With a push that I felt deep, deep inside me, she lunged forward, sinking to her elbow in my guts. Suddenly, her feet were pressed against the chair, and she grunted as she pulled everything she could out of me. My insides shifted, slopping out of my body and onto the floor like a clog sucked out of a drain. I died, screaming. I shouldn't have been mad. She was a level 1, and I was a level 6 who'd already killed her once. It was only fair. Still, I was mad. I was pissed. I couldn't trust her, and she couldn't trust me. I deserved it, but I still found myself screaming expletives at her as I regenerated, the pain of the death sequence dwarfing anything she could have done to me. This was my 9th death.
I went up to level 3!
She sat cross-legged on the counter next to the butchered remains of her corpse from earlier. The slabs of meat I'd cut off her body remained piled on the counter, but her bones and guts were gone. Her skin and the arm I could swap out remained, piled neatly next to the meat.
I'm almost to 4. That means you're probably really level 6 or 7 if my math is correct. Did your pet level up? Did it work?
It worked. He's bigger, I can feel it. But we gotta do it again. He only went up 1 level. I need him at level 5 so he can leave my body.
Okay then. I was afraid of that. You're right, we do need to do it again. But there's a problem. That's level 1 meat, so it won't be as effective. So you gotta let me kill you again. I'll go up another level, maybe 2. Then you kill me and take my meat, and then we'll try it again. This time though, I promise I won't kill you. When you're ready, we'll stuff your cavities with as much Clara spam as we can. We'll cut you open, stuff you like a turkey, and sew you back up. Then, Mr. Pet Worm can eat whenever he's hungry, and it should be enough food to level him up to 5. After that, we can start exploring. But we have to be smart about it. This is how the endgame works. You gotta get a key to the rift. There are literally hundreds of different ways to get one. And how you get it has a major effect on what happens. Supposedly there are thousands of different endings. But before you can even worry about the key, you need to be able to control your guardian. When Anatoly finished the game before, they had 3 guardians waiting at the rift, and had somehow enticed most of the others to that area too. Pretty much all the demons in the game attack at this point, including all the demon princes and barons and kings and queens. It's pure chaos. The other kaiju held them off while Anatoly and the other 2 went into the rift. I didn't go with them, so I don't know what happens in there. But it took about 2 days. They eventually won and the game reset. Anatoly told me it was next to impossible with 3 kaiju. They couldn't do it, so he'd had to employ some sort of cheat. It was meant to be done with 5 or 6.
I just stared at her. It was odd how her personality changed. One moment she was the meek fairy girl trapped with me, utterly devoid of motivation or hope. With Smash South, she was the firm sidekick, confident but vicious. He'd seemed to imply that she actually enjoyed it here. And now she'd changed again, into whatever this was. What, I wondered, was the real Clara? So you've changed your mind about helping me? What's different?
That was before I saw what you were willing to go through to get there. We got 6 months. Let's win this game.
Thank you for listening to Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon, Episode 1, The Mural. Written and adapted for audio by Matt Dinniman. Narrated by Jeff Hayes. Featuring Dory Sachs as Clara and Andrea Parsnow as Banksy. Music by Aaron J. Morton. Soap opera music by Ahmed Mahmood. Sound design by Ahmed Mahmood. Editing and mastering by Richard Smith. Text copyright 2021 by Matt Dinniman. Production copyright 2021 by Soundbooth Theater. A Soundbooth Theater production. Watch for Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon Episode 2, The Hinterlands, exclusively here at soundbooththeater.com at the end of December 2021. Want more from Matt Dinniman and Soundbooth Theater? Search for Dungeon Crawler Call on audible.com. To find more awesome video game fiction, hang out with other Gamelit and LitRPG fans on Facebook. Check out the Gamelit Society, LitRPG Books, and the LitRPG Forum. And happy Halloween!